Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Sapphire Nitro Plus B850A Wi-Fi7. Have to get all of the words in, hopefully that the algorithm will pick it up, but it's the new Sapphire motherboard. There are a few of these that are going to be coming out actually, and I've been sent a stack so that you can see the prices. Now this one that I've got is the most expensive one at the moment, but it isn't going to be the most expensive one overall. There are going to be some later. So what we need to help you decide today is whether this is going to be a motherboard you're going to buy now, whether you're going to sit and wait to see what comes later on. I can't give you any hints, but you can pretty much work it out for yourself. But I am going to go through the BIOS with you. I'm going to give you some optimization tips. I'm going to tell you some good, I'm going to tell you some bad, and I'm going to answer some questions that everybody wants to know. Now the first of them is, and I know, is the OEM ASRock. No, it's not. And I'm actually quite happy about that, but I know it's going to split the market because there has been some bad press for ASRock to do with their BIOS, but it's all going to depend on your point of view. So if ASRock is a no-no for you, you haven't got anything to worry about. The brand itself, it's a small Chinese brand, so it's still going to be one of those ones where we are just going to have to see how things pan out. But as with everything in China, they don't just make one or two, they make an awful lot of them. It is a popular one. It's not one that I've heard of, but I don't buy Chinese stuff. I do think it's going to be one that we're going to just have to see how it pans out. If you're a worrier, then sit and wait. If you're not a worrier, then you haven't got to worry that it's ASRock. So it really is going to depend on your point of view. Some people out there are going to be like, well, I've had an ASRock board since the start. And that's completely fair. But I'm just covering the fact that some people are going to know whether it is or it isn't. As I've said though, price. It's very strong price-wise, 159 GBP. You could be spending 3 times that on a 9800 X3D. But we're going to save what processor you can put in it later for as we start the review and pick things apart and have a good look round. So I do want to give you a good look around the motherboard. I do want to give you a good look around the BIOS. And I am going to give you some tips and tweaks, as I've already said, and then we'll wrap things up at the end. So get yourself comfy, get yourself a cup of tea, and we'll all see if we're going to have a Jerry biscuit at the end. So you've already seen the box, but beside the motherboard, there isn't a great deal else inside it. You get 2 SATA cables, and then you get a magnetic Wi-Fi7 dongle. That is it. Now, obviously it is a B850 board, so the main limitation that we are going to be dealing with is connectivity. So, round the back, no USB 4 or anything going on, but we do have a Type-C, USB 3.2 Gen 2, so you've got an A, a C, and then 2 more A's down here. 4 USB 2s, 2.5 gigabit Ethernet, then we've got Wi-Fi 7, gold plated outputs here for your audio, and you'll see that you've got a lovely broad selection there for your 3.5mm jacks, and then you do have HDMI and a display port if you want to utilize the onboard video. But obviously if you are gaming, you connect to your graphics card. This was probably just going to be for fault finding, or if you are running very many multiple screens. But these predominantly for people at home are not going to be ports that you're going to be using unless something's broken. Now round to the actual board itself. If I zoom this in a little bit, what I will do is give you a look around. The 8 pins up in the corner, they're actually solid pins, so your 2 EPSs, they're all solid pin connectors, and you do have solid pin connectors up here. Do have a broad VRM array around the outside. You can go onto the website if you want a full breakdown of the VRMs, but the heat sinks are machined aluminium, but a fair amount of surface area there, and I wanted to test the VRM temps, and we'll talk about that later on in the video. Now, CPU header up here for PWM fans. Move the light in to make our life a little bit easier as well. So CPU fan header there. This is the AIO header. ARGB header, and then that's listed as chassis fan 3 there. Talking about other chassis fans, you get one there, and then there is another one there. That is your lot. So ARGB header there, and we come down the bottom, another ARGB header there, and then another one here. USB 2 connector there. Actually, look, there's an ARGB header. I'm not sure whether I mentioned that one. Front panel header, 4-pin RGB on there. Now, underneath here, we do have a selection of M.2s. The top being the PCI Express 5 one, the others are PCI Express 4. We can also say that we've got USB 3.2 up here, but you've got an external A, you've got an external C, you have 2 SATAs over here, and that's pretty much the lot for a look around the board itself. Okay, so we have looked around the board, and the first thing I will say is obviously you can see it's built here on the desk, and I have put the 9070 XT Nitro in the motherboard as well. You might say that it's slightly unbalanced price-wise, but one of the things I did want to point out is I don't think that they've worked hard enough on the colour matching. I think it's got Nitro Plus on it. I think the Nitro Plus colouring should definitely match with the most recent graphics card, and it doesn't, and that kind of makes my teeth itch a little bit. Feels like they've missed a trick. But beyond that, what we do need to do is talk about the BIOS. Now, during my testing, we'll start with just looking at the BIOS in general. They have said that they've built this from the ground up. It is Sapphire aesthetics, it's Sapphire layout. They wanted to make sure that they made it very user-friendly. I will say that with the mouse that I used, it felt like the resolution was just ridiculous in the BIOS. Normally they shoot off and you move a little bit of the mouse and it's on the other side of the screen. This one was very slow. It was almost like I was using a low DPI mouse with a horrendously high DPI BIOS. But you adapt to it and it's fine. It's very user friendly. You can set the fan speeds in there. And I know this is going to be something that you can do with all of the other BIOSes out there, but it's just something that I wanted to bring up. The other thing that I did want to bring up is it does have some very simple standard and performance modes that you can just click in there as well. It's very, very user friendly. It's a very basic option that you can do. One click for enabling Expo, one click for enabling Precision Boost Overdrive. You can do a single click for going from standard to performance mode. So what I have done with my testing is I have tested standard and I have tested performance mode for you as well, so that we can definitely cover that. Before we do get into testing and performance though, I do want to stress something that I found quite frustrating, and that's none of my sensor programs that I use, because I use Hardware Info, I use Hardware Monitor, nothing was picking up VRM temperatures at all. So I was having to use an infrared thermal probe to keep an eye on board temperatures and temperatures around the socket. Now, I'm not going to tell you what they were, but they weren't hot. It wasn't mainly because I don't want to tell you what they were, because it's just going to be a temperature from near a VRM, not a VRM temperature. But they weren't hot at all. We were talking 50s and 60 degrees, depending on how long I'd been running things like Blender or how long I'd been doing things like Cinebench 24 multi-threaded. So they weren't getting horrendously hot, but I do need an accurate temperature from a probe underneath the heatsink, as they normally would be. I don't know whether there's a probe there or not. It is a question that I've asked. If there are probes there, then it's just a case of getting the BIOS to talk to the software a little bit nicer. We have a lot of this with problems with Asus around launches and the software normally gets updated after a BIOS update, and then everything kind of tallies up and plays nice. But we're going to have to see how things pan out. Now, performance was a mixed bag. The standard mode was a little bit slower than I'd hoped, but the fact that it was so easy to enable performance mode, which did enable Precision Boost Overdrive, this did bring performance up above what stock results would have been with the other boards in the graphs, and made it look very strong. What we do need to remember is with the other boards, if you had enabled Precision Boost Overdrive, they would have then jumped back in front of the Sapphire board. So I'm going to say that for an early board, the BIOS does need a bit of tweaking. Out of the box, standard results were slower than I would have hoped. Enabling that performance mode definitely brings things back into check. It does then, though, because of the way that AMD processors work, that it does mean it's temperature sensitive. Not that it gets hot, but the processor wants to be that little bit cooler so that it can boost better and take more advantage of that performance mode. So within that, you need a good cooler to get the best from it in performance mode. But you would do with any other board that isn't a Sapphire limitation. Also, so we've done that. We've got the Precision Boost Overdrive on and everything like that. I do think they will be able to eke more out of this with some BIOS maturity, so I don't particularly see a problem. And we do need to remember this is a £160 board, and I've got a 9900X in here. You're going to ask me why I've not put a 9800X3D in here. Well, that's pretty much a gaming CPU anyway, and we're testing all of the boards with the 9900X and have done since launch, so that's why we've got a good amount of meaty data in our graphs. It's a shame that we didn't have any thermal results, but overall, with the balance, yes, it's a little bit under where we would hope, but they have made it very easy for you to be able to eke more performance out of it without needing any special skills or anything like that. It's a one click, so it's something for you guys to decide on at home. If you're a beginner, the fact that you can just go in and a single button, it's a win-win situation, takes it up above where it would have been at stock. And I actually think it's a very nice option, and I do think it's going to get more mature and it will sort itself out. Price-wise, it's an absolute, for me, it's a value for money board. Yes, it's not got USB 4 and stuff like that, but it's got exactly what you need. For gaming, it's going to get you where you want to be. It looks great with one of the Sapphire graphics cards in it. If you have got a Nitro Plus, the colour is going to annoy me, but it might not do you. But if you've got one of the Pures, for example, it's not going to matter anyway. I think the thing overall that we do need to remember is it's £160. AMD boards seem to have got so expensive because of DDR5 and PCI Express 5 and things like that. I think this is quite a refreshing place for us to be. It's definitely going to be a great board for someone that's trying to build on a more sensible level of budget. And it does look great as well. We just need to hope that over time they do work on refining that BIOS. And I think that's going to be the final thing that they really need to get covered. But from me, value for money award, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what they bring to the table with the other boards.